Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to yet another quick fire reviews. This is a video that I've already done twice before. We already have a part 1 for the year of 2025. This is, I guess, the second part now. This is a video where I just bunch up a bunch of movie reviews for movies that I've seen this year and just do quick fire reviews all in one video instead of having every movie have like its own video. So yeah, we do some quick reviews, we rate the movies, and then we move on to the next one. That's how it works. If you want to see these reviews earlier from me, I usually record reviews on my TikTok and post them on Letterboxd just right away after I see a movie. So if you want to hear my thoughts on movies, on any of these movies and movies in the future right away without having to wait a couple of months for another one of these batched videos, then just follow me on either Letterboxd or TikTok. Also, leave this video a like and subscribe. All right, let's get started with the first movie. So we're going to start off with the big one, and that is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now, at the time of this recording, it has been less than 24 hours since I've seen this movie, and Tom Cruise asked me to trust him one more time. This has been advertised as kind of the last Mission Impossible movie. Tom Cruise is back in the big screen. He's doing crazy stunts. He's hanging off airplanes. And yes, I did trust him. And what did I get out of that trust? I got a fun yet a very, very messy film. The first hour of this movie is rough. A friend of mine who was sitting next to me said that first hour felt like a fever dream because there was a point in the first hour where I looked at him and we just gave each other that look of like, what is going on here? It's very messy, very convoluted. We're moving locations. We're trying to justify why we got to get this thing and get this other thing and connect them. And we got to get this other guy. The movie does get better. It's a 3-hour movie. It's close to 3 hours, I should say, actually. And in the second half, it does pick up. This movie is very heavily carried by 2 action sequences. And that is the submarine sequence. Incredible. I was at the edge of my seat there. And that's when we kind of enter the second half of the movie. And then the final sequence being the plane sequence that's advertised everywhere. Those 2 sequences do a lot for this movie that's very, very messy and convoluted. But those 2 action sequences are, I mean, they're spectacular. And you know what? Despite this movie being very messy, I did find myself and a lot of people around me while I was watching it in a packed theater on a big IMAX screen. And once the movie ended and the credits started to roll and that Mission Impossible theme was playing, I cheered still. And we all cheered still. Because the movie, again, messy, but has its moments and is fun. But I would have liked it to be a little bit more cohesive and well put together. This movie also, for some reason, really tries to connect everything from all the other Mission Impossible movies. The movie is filled with like flashbacks that are just scenes from other Mission Impossible movies. Like majority of this runtime, I would say, a decent percentage of this runtime has to be allocated to footages from other Mission Impossible movies, because this movie's like, everything's been connected. Ethan Hunt's been around it all. This is so big and important. It's all about him. And I felt like if they just scaled it back a little bit, they went a little bit way too big. I know Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise, they like to go big with these, but they went too big with this one. Whether this is the final Mission Impossible movie, I don't know. The movie ends. I didn't really like the ending of the movie either, because it doesn't really, honestly, doesn't really give you an answer whether it's the last Mission Impossible movie or not. If they wanted to, they could make another one of these. I wouldn't mind it, even though I felt like this one was messy. I wouldn't mind it if they made another one of these, but yeah, for some reason, I don't think this is the last Mission Impossible movie. So yeah, with all that being said, it brings me kind of no pleasure because I was really excited for this movie. I'm going to go ahead and give it a B- in terms of rating. I could give it a C+. I think I'm being a little generous with the B- because in this 3-hour runtime, there's a lot of like iffy moments in there. But then there's also a couple of really great moments. I should probably point out in the last couple of months, one movie did get its own review, and that is Thunderbolts. I really enjoyed Thunderbolts. It does have its own review, so I'm not going to be covering it in this video. I'm going to just give it an A rating. Another big movie that we have, and there's a movie that I had the privilege of seeing in 70mm IMAX, that is Ryan Coogler's film Sinners, starring Michael B. Jordan, where Michael B. Jordan plays twins that are gonna kill some vampires. This movie is a celebration of the arts. It's a celebration of culture and music, and Ludwig Göransson, the Oscar is on its way. You're getting another one. Congratulations. Ryan Coogler is going to pick up some nominations. I don't know if Michael B. Jordan will, but I think the Sinners team will pick up a lot of awards this coming season. Hopefully it doesn't get lost. Kind of like Dune 2 got lost last year because it came out too early. This was a spectacular movie. It looked great. It sounded great. It was a roller coaster of a ride. The only negative that I would say to it is that I think it took a little bit to get going because it had to set up a lot about the world and the characters and who knows who and what their relationships are. But once it gets going, it does not stop. And I'm so thankful for the fact that I got to see it in 70mm IMAX on the biggest, best version that you can see this movie in. It looked amazing, and Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, and the whole Sinners team actually, knocked it out of the park. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give Sinners an A. Shifting gears a little bit, I'm actually going to go towards a movie that I didn't like, and that is the movie called The Monkey. Apparently, it's a movie based on a short story written by Stephen King. It's a movie about a toy monkey that when it claps the drums that it has, people die. It's kind of like in a Final Destination-esque way. This movie is very silly. If you're watching it with a group of friends, I saw this movie with a friend of mine, and we laughed at the absurdity of it. But in general, I found this movie to be very goofy. And I think if you're watching it with friends, you might be having a good time laughing at the absurdity of it. But overall, besides laughing at how bad it is and kind of goofy, I didn't really like it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give The Monkey a D-. In my first version of 2025 kind of quick fire reviews, I did review a movie called Companion, and that movie starred Jack Quaid. Well, actually, in the last couple of months, Jack Quaid kind of had two movies come out very close to each other. One being Companion, which I really did like, and the other one being Novocaine, which I also did like. It's a really fun action movie, and if you don't know what it's about, Jack Quaid's character in the movie has a condition where he can't feel pain, and a girl that he likes gets kidnapped, so now he's on this adventure of trying to find her and save her, and they do a lot of fun things with the action sequences and his condition. Jack Quaid has the perfect build for a ragdoll because in this movie he plays a guy who's not very capable of much in terms of action sequences because he's just the guy, right, who's trying to save his girl, and because of his condition, he just gets tossed around everywhere. He goes through a lot of pain, and it's really fun to watch. The movie ramps up and gets more absurd by the minute, especially with its action sequences. It starts off of like maybe they're throwing him around and he's bumping into things and maybe getting stabbed a little bit. Ow, it hurts. By the end of the movie, he's got like bones coming out. He's got burns and everything. It gets crazy, but it's a really fun watch and a fun action movie, and good for Jack Quaid being out there on the big screen. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give Novocaine a B-. A movie that I don't really have much to say about except the fact that it was gorgeous is the animated film Flow. I did watch it on HBO Max. I know it picked up an Oscar for Best Animated Film at the Oscars. And it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous story. It has a lot of emotions without having dialogue. It's really well put together. It was a very nice like sensory experience watching this very beautifully put together animated movie. And it's one of those movies that you're watching and you're just like, fuck AI. You know what I mean? Like, that's art right there. So yeah, Flow was beautiful. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give it a B+. In the last couple months, I probably saw what I would describe to be the most realistic version of what a spy life would be like, and that is Black Bag, starring Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender. This movie is very dialogue heavy. There's only one gun that was fired in this entire movie, and it's a spy thriller. It's a spy thriller with people exchanging information, lying to each other, trying to deceive one another. And it's not like bang, bang, big action, car explosions, all that. Actually, some cars do explode now that I think back on it. But it's not your typical big action spy thriller, but it's still a very interesting spy thriller. It's got a very unique look to it, which I love too. Great performances. I do wish maybe it had a little bit more oomph to it, like excitement, an exciting moment. But I still was very intrigued in the script because it was so tightly and well put together. Black Bag for me gets a B-. There's also been 3 B- now that I've given movies, and they're all different B-. This is why I also sometimes don't like grading things, because you just gotta listen to the full review to understand how I landed at the score. Like Novocaine, Mission Impossible 8, and Black Bag, they're all B minuses in my opinion, but they're all like different B minuses, you know what I mean? Hopefully you're just watching the video. Going from potentially what was one of the most realistic spy thrillers, I'm gonna move on to what is potentially one of the most realistic war movies, and that is Alex Garland's film Warfare. This is just a very immersive watching experience. It doesn't have much in terms of substance and characters and story. This is a story just about Iraq soldiers who are stuck in the building, who are trying to survive while there's shit going on outside. It's based on a true story, but it's just like when I say it's an immersive experience, the audio design is fantastic in this. The visuals are great as well. Dialogue is very like military heavy, you know what I mean? And they don't like stop to like explain to the audience what they're talking about. They're just exchanging military dialogue because they just need to in order to survive. There's a show that I'm watching on this channel called The Pit right now, which does the same thing but with a hospital. They just talk like how you would talk in a hospital without having to pause and explain to the audience what they're talking about. And that kind of thing makes your project very immersive. When you don't stop to try to explain to the audience and catch them up, you're just in the moment. You feel like you're in the room with these soldiers or these doctors when you're watching something like The Pit. I actually kind of had no hope for this movie. When I first saw a trailer, I was like, well, there's a lot of talented guys in this movie. Like there's a lot of faces you'd be like, oh shit, Joseph Quinn and all these other people. But I was like, why are all these people like doing a war movie? I feel like their talent is being wasted here. And I still kind of feel that way because besides like two people, I don't know if I can name you anybody else in this movie, like their characters, because none of them really get character development or character exploration really, besides maybe two of them. But like I said, this movie is more about the sound and the visuals and really just immersing you in this experience of these soldiers trying to survive this one scenario that they're in. And in that, the movie I think succeeded because I was sitting at the edge of my seat watching this film. I'm gonna give Warfare, oh my god, I'm gonna give Warfare a B minus. I promise you, they're all different B minuses. They're all different vibes. I don't know. I just can't justify putting this in the C category. You know what I mean? Oh, I have to really quickly tell you about this movie that I watched. It came out last year. It's called Sing Sing. It's an A24 movie starring Colman Domingo and a bunch of other people. And it's a movie about these guys in prison who are working on a theater program, right? So they're trying to put a play together. I'm upset that I missed it in theaters, but also A24 is kind of bad with their releases. This movie was only released in like a few theaters, and then by the time it went to wide release, it just kind of got lost. But what a beautiful film this was. I cried by the end of it. Highly recommend you watch it. It's on HBO Max. It's a gorgeous film full of great performances. Colman Domingo is obviously the big Hollywood name here, but everybody else in the movie, or majority of other prisoners, are actually played by the prisoners who went through this experience, which is so awesome because all of them were spectacular in the film. And again, it's a very beautiful film about just humanity and love for the arts. And yeah, I loved it so much. I cried by the end of it. This movie gets an A+ for me. And again, I'm upset I missed it in theaters, but I'm glad I watched it. The last movie I'm going to review in today's video is a movie that's now available on HBO Max, I believe, to watch. And that is Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho's new movie starring Robert Pattinson. This movie was fun, you know what I mean? I enjoyed being in Bong Joon-ho's sci-fi world. I think this movie is actually based on a book too, but you know, neither here nor there. And Robert Pattinson does a lot of wacky stuff in this movie. So I'll say if there's any reason you should see this movie, it's just to watch Robert Pattinson put on a great performance doing a bunch of wacky things where he gets printed out and there's multiple copies of him and they're doing a bunch of crazy shit. The movie does have a lot of underlining, subtext in it, with Mark Ruffalo playing like a Trump-esque character. Although I did find Mark Ruffalo to be very tiring by the end of this movie. Like when you see him on screen, you're like, all right, I know what you're going for. And by the end of the movie, you're like, all right, dude, we can just wrap it up now. I got it at the first stage. I do wish there was less narration in it. There's a lot of narration in it where we could have maybe dialed back on the narration and just kind of let the story be told in a more natural way, especially exploration of some side characters and side storylines. I would have loved that. We could have just seen that instead of hearing about that. I expected this movie, with the talent that was kind of applied to it, I expected it to be more memorable than it was. It was a fun watch, but I think by the end of the year, we're all gonna kind of forget about Mickey 17. And that's kind of a shame because it's Robert Pattinson and Bong Joon-ho putting on a movie that was delayed many, many times and was very highly anticipated. But by the time it came out, it was all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Mickey 17 a B. Maybe B minus. Let's just go with a B for now. I also do have two quick reviews for TV shows. First of all, there are two of my favorite TV shows that I've seen this year so far, and that is Andor, which I did cover on the channel. I speak very, very highly of Andor. It's the show of the year. It's the best Star Wars thing ever made. It's spectacular. If you haven't seen Andor, watch it. It's prestige television. It's amazing. It's amazing that Disney Plus made something this freaking good. So good. Watch that. And The Studio on Apple TV Plus. If you love film and TV and you're a nerd about production and all of that, like Seth Rogen, like myself, or like anybody else, really, if you just love film, watch this show. The show's hilarious. It's very my vibe type of humor. It kind of reminds me of Community sometimes. Community, I think, is my favorite sitcom of all time because it just has so many pop culture and film references, and it's very meta, and I think that's kind of like my type of humor. And The Studio has elements of that in it, but it's also very funny in like its own way, in its own clever way, and it's one of the best shows of the year. And if you haven't been watching it, you should. I think I'm like 2 episodes behind because the season ended the other day, so I still got to catch up on it. But I've really, really enjoyed what I've seen so far, and it's also brilliantly shot. Like, it looks spectacular. Yeah, it's a comedy, ha ha ha, but it looks magical because the show is all about like celebrating film culture and making good art. And within this comedy, they also do that, right? They put the effort into making stuff actually look good. So yeah, with that, that's gonna be my wrap up for some quick fire reviews, part 2 of 2025. I don't know when I'll see you next time doing one of these videos. It could be in a couple months. I think Fantastic Four comes out in a couple months. I'll probably get its own review like Thunderbolts did, but it's kind of a version where I batch up a bunch of reviews into one video. We'll probably see maybe at the end of the summer. Maybe I'll just collect everything that I watched in the summer, and then at the end of the summer, I'll do another one of these. But if you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Check out some of my other videos. We do reactions and reviews on this channel, mostly reactions nowadays, so check that out. I'd really appreciate that. If you want these reviews much sooner, like I said, when I go and see a movie, I usually come out and film a TikTok almost right away, or post a Letterboxd review. So you can follow me on Letterboxd or TikTok or Instagram or any other social medias that I have linked down below. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll see you guys next time. Let me know down in the comments also what you thought about any of these movies. I'd love to have a discussion with you about that. All right, see ya. Peace.